You're listening to Remotely One, a podcast that educates, entertains, and inspires you to take your life back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a former beer rep who left the warehouse to become a voice actor and digital creator.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds awesome. Let's clock in.
Just so you guys know, my mom owned a restaurant called the Happy Hot Dog.
Wait, so the hot dog experience was Happy Hot Dogs? That's so cool.
Yes, it's called the Happy Hot Dog. That's correct.
So what did the Happy Hot Dog look like?
It looked like a hot dog with hands that were happy. And that was the logo.
That's amazing.
Do you watch the hot dog eating contest where the dude dips the hot dog bun in the water and like shoves it? Have you ever seen that?
That kind of makes me want to vomit. Like, why would I watch
I can't even think about that.
So
I can't even stomach it.
You've never seen the hot dog eating contest?
Of course I've seen it, but I don't go, let's jump on that and watch it.
Oh my good God.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No,
That's so great.
Like my mouth just actually watered for a Happy hot dog with mustard, tomatoes, and onions. Like it's just like my mouth is watering right now.
Welcome back to Remotely One. I am your co-host, Rick Haney, joined by my esteemed colleague and co-host, Kaleem Clarkson. What is happening, my brother?
Oh, my brother from another mother. Nothing much, man. I'm just enjoying life right now. We're on the pod, right? We're not doing work. We're going to talk to some cool people, so I'm enjoying it. How about you, man? What you up to?
I'm digging it. Life is good. Right now, it's Friday. The sun is out. It's about 90 degrees here in Charlotte. I can't complain.
Let's do it. Let's do it. That's awesome.
Hey, everybody. Everyone out there, viewers, listeners, since you know how to find us now, do us a huge favor. Go to ratethispodcast.com/remotely one and just leave us a review. Again, ratethispodcast.com/remotely one. If you could do that for us, we would be ever so thankful. Since 2015, Remotely One is one of the largest communities of remote work professionals with over 3,500 Slack members and over 5,000 email subscribers, and those numbers are going up by the day. That is amazing. It's free to join, so go check it out at remotelyone.com. And with that out of the way, Kaleem, please, if you would, give us a teaser too about today's guest.
Ooh, Rick, you know how I get, man, with these guests. You know what I'm saying?
You know what the word is, right? You know what today's word is you love so much? The word is doozy.
Ooh, we love a good doozy. We love a good doozy. Our guests today, Rick, they're intimidating because of how many great things they've done. But you know what? I'm gonna calm myself down. I'm gonna try to bring my stuff up to their level. So the first thing, Rick, is our guests today, they are originally from and currently reside in the Bay.
Oh, San Francisco.
Come out and play, yay! Yes, the Bay. Let's see. Their HR career kicked off in '99 as the director of human resources for a whole bunch of software companies in the Bay Area.
Oh, that was a good time for software companies.
Of course. Well connected our guest is for sure. Oh, Rick, I just love this. This is probably the highlight of my week. Okay, our guest, they got their career. They kicked off their career at a Happy Hot Dog. Sandy's Happy Hot Dogs back in the day.
There's no shame in a good hot dog, I'll be honest.
Oh my
it's one
gosh.
of my favorite culinary items.
For some reason, the hot dog mascot just
makes you want to do that hot dog strut. Do that hot dog strut.
Guess, how many hot dogs have you eaten, Guess? Just tell us the truth.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. Like back in the day, I probably ate a lot of hot dogs. I would say
thousands.
Today, it's a different day. We're more mindful of our nutrition. Not so many hot dogs today. But the Costco hot dog is a good competitor these days.
Wow. So, Rick and I are both from Maine. Have you ever tried a red snapper, as we would say? Snapper. Have you tried one?
I would say I would probably, if I read the sign, call it a red snapper. Like that's probably what I would call it. But no, I have not tried a red snapper hot dog.
That's okay.
There's no Oz. There's no Oz.
You get the dialect down, and we respect that. Thank you.
That's awesome. Awesome. Rick, something else about our guests, right? They had a great early career, but then they just kept going higher and higher. Our guests, they worked at LinkedIn and remote work giant Atlassian. Guess, did I say that right? Is it Atlassian?
Yes, you said it Atlassian correctly.
Ooh.
Back in the day, I almost feel like that's back in the day. It's not as back in the day as the Happy Hot Dog, but it was a minute ago. And actually, the funniest thing was back then, I thought the name of the company was Jira. I was wrong. It was Atlassian, and there was a lot of amazing products underneath that. Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Kaleem said it right. That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's notorious for misspeaking.
I used to call it Atlassian, and I was like, I don't even know why Atlassian. I don't know why.
Oh my goodness.
Rick, our guest is currently the founder and CEO of Morales HR, which connects talent to opportunities. Rick,
Okay.
please give a warm welcome to Shelly Morales.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to the show, Shelly.
Yeah, let's go, baby. Shelly Morales. Woo! Settle down.
Okay.
Settle down, studio audience.
All
You're
right,
crazy.
take it down a
Settle
notch. Down in front. Down in front.
Woo.
Supposed to be professional here. What kind of
Shelly,
operation
Shelly.
is this?
They're excited to hear from you, Shelly. They're excited to hear from you.
Lord have mercy. That's all I have to say. Lord have mercy. I am pretty excited that it's Friday, but I will tell you that most times by the time we get to Friday, which actually is today as well, I go, oh, it's Friday. Oh, shoot. It's Friday. Like I still have so many more things to do. I think the one fun thing for me, honestly, is that not only am I the founder and CEO of Morales HR, but I'm also a sitting CHRO in one of my clients. And so I kind of live in both worlds, and I get a big exposure to what are we doing around remote work. And in fact, this company, which is called SnapDocs, is phenomenal mortgage tech company, is a fully remote work environment. So I have the best of both worlds. I have this opportunity to connect people to opportunities, and I also get to see every day what it's like to be inside a company.
Amazing. Well, you're very busy, and we thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us. We appreciate it.
I'm so grateful to be here with all of you. And the
I'm-
crowds, that's such an amazing crowd.
Well, they are hard to deal with, so you got to kind of smack them around a little and
We
show
tell
them where it's at.
We tell them no.
Yeah.
No.
You got to
no.
set them straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to set them straight. But, we did that, and, they're calm now. But, if they get out of line, you just let us
Tell
know.
them to settle,
We'll take care of them.
settle down. Settle down.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. So, Shelly, I'm fascinated by your story. You've worked with so many wonderful people. How do you go from hot dogs to running an HR company? I know it's been a long time, but kind of walk me through your experience and how you started out and how you got to where you are now.
So I will answer the question, and then I will tell you about how. The way that I've done it is through pure grit and determination. So the early story is that I grew up here in the Bay Area, literally about an hour from where I live today. I live in San Jose, California now. I have 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, a lizard, a husband. It's like Wally World going on over here, you guys. I mean, I'm talking about never-ending fun, drama, something happening. But back in, when I first graduated from high school, my mom owned these stores called Sandy's Happy Hot Dogs, and that was the plan. I was going to be a hot dog shop owner. So I didn't go to college. All my friends went. I did not. And then my mom sold those stores, and I was like, wait, what? Now what am I going to do? And so I got super lucky. I fell into a receptionist job, and I was like, this is great, but what else can I do? Because this is boring. And so I just kept saying, what else? I happened to be able to take on some HR related things in that company where I was a receptionist. And this is back in the day when we had to track every resume by hand that came in. That was the beginning of my HR career. That evolved over the years to becoming a business partner to leaders, to driving different programs and initiatives which then just gave me more of an insight to, gosh, this function of HR really has the ability to impact people's lives. And so I was blessed with an opportunity to work at some amazing companies. You've mentioned a couple of them. I also worked at Cadence Design Systems. I worked at Juniper Networks. I got my first head of HR gig in a publicly traded company called Quantenna, which was in the Wi-Fi semiconductor space. And from there, I did a few pre-IPO startups, and about, almost 2 years ago now, decided in-house was not giving me the opportunity to affect as many people's lives in a positive way. I decided to start this fractional gig, which is what I do today, is fractional CHRO work, but at a different level now. It's that work plus connecting people to opportunities across all professions and all industries and all levels of professionals. And so that's how I got started. And along that journey, there's been this in-house was the way it was. And now not in-house is the way it is in many cases. And there's a big push to, should we go back to in-house? And the reason for that is really about the connection that's lost sometimes. And so you have to find these really unique ways to think about remote work that keep your employees engaged. And so that's what we talk about all the time.
Shelly,
Wow.
Looking at some of those companies that you worked at, I can't, as we're on the remote work podcast, you were talking about remote work. When you have somebody that works at a company like Atlassian, that is worldwide known for being a remote first company. Everybody, I believe Annie Dean is now there. She's talking about how, I think they had her role as a head of remote work. Like they're all in on this idea of being fully distributed.
Yeah.
So can you talk about what it was like working at that company at that time? And this was 6 years before the pandemic, roughly. What was the timeline, just so that our listeners and viewers understand? Remote work has been around long before 2020. So can you talk about that experience?
Absolutely. It really has been around for a long time. And you could see the evolution. You could see it headed this way. Atlassian is phenomenal. I mean, Mike and Scott, who founded Atlassian so many years ago, have done such an amazing job of thinking ahead about what remote would be and could be. And so working there was fabulous. And not only was it remote, but we're talking Australia to California.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So Atlassian, so audience, just so you know, Atlassian's an Australian-based company.
Yeah, with a large presence in the U.S., obviously, and even more so. Like you mentioned, I was there a long time ago, but I know so many people who are there today who have been there for years or come and gone from Atlassian, and the story is always the same. It's a phenomenal company to work for with great values that really does think about remote and how to enable talent. A really quick funny story: when I joined Atlassian, the first thing that they have you do, and I don't know if this is I imagine it's the case today, is to create your own Confluence page. And I can remember going, oh my gosh, like really? Like, what is this Confluence thing? And I have to tell everybody about myself. Oh, like it just kind of made me like, I didn't even like Facebook. This is a long time ago. And so I did my Confluence page, and I remember that day thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much potential to this. And when I left, I thought, oh my, how am I ever going to live without Confluence, which is it is such a tool for connecting across all boundaries, right? When I went to Cadence, something came across my desk and I was like, that's Confluence. I can tell I could tell the link, and I was very excited. I use all those Atlassian products today in Morales HR, and I fundamentally believe they are helping us be a remote workforce.
Wow.
Morales HR is an entirely remote community as well.
Uh-huh. Cool. While you were working with Atlassian, what are some of the challenges that you were presented with and helped resolve that so many companies might be dealing with today?
Oh gosh, I think, Rick, I would expand that to from the time that I worked at Atlassian, even to today, and the clients that we work with and the challenges that they face and the things that we face with SnapDogs. Working remotely is, so we all know that the pandemic was terrible in so many ways. It really negatively affected people's lives. And if you are like me and the glass is half full, what you do is you think about the positive things that come out of events or things that happen. And in my mind, what the pandemic did for all of us is had us think about work differently, had us be more, what is the word I'm looking for? More tolerant of, it used to be, I'm sure you can all
Life.
remember this, right? Like life, right? If
Yeah.
you were an in-house employee and you had somebody on the Polycom, which was the way it was.
The Polycom? What's the Polycom?
Video conference.
Polycom,
Video conference
like
call.
the big thing that sat.
No.
Come on, man! Like the big.
There's no
phone
video?
thing that no video.
No.
And if you're on the other end of that, you want to like poke your eyeballs out because you're just like you can't hear anything. And if your dog barked or your kid cried, people thought you weren't paying attention. I mean, so terrible. Roll forward. Everyone's at home, the kids are crying, they're on their people, they're, the laps. And of course, those are distractions, but they are distractions that made you be able to be more invested in getting your work done. And so we've
Empathy.
seen a lot of that. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
Yeah. People are basically like, wow, you're a human being, CEO I've never seen. Now I'm seeing even if on a company-wide call, the CEO is on a company-wide Zoom call. So the whole company's seeing the house of the
Visuals.
CEO, the visuals. So
Yeah.
I love what you said. It allowed it to be more human. I'm sorry. When you were just saying that, it just really, really stuck with me. Was there something that you feel like Atlassian like solved that people are like still, you talked about Confluence, documentation. Are there some things that you feel like most people are still having challenges with today?
I think that collaboration is the biggest thing that Atlassian solved for early on. And it is the biggest thing that we still have challenges with is how do we collaborate? There's so much technology out there, right? Like people will say, oh, you should use SharePoint. Well, SharePoint is a document repository. SharePoint is not a collaboration vehicle, but Microsoft has lots of collaboration things now. So everyone is like finding their way. And I do think too, there's the biggest thing that we have to think about in remote work is how do we effectively collaborate as a company? And sometimes it's about collaboration inside your company and sometimes it's about collaboration outside and bringing it in. So tools like Slack have been phenomenal in this remote work environment because you almost can't get your work. You need a couple different like mediums, right? I need to be able to get a hold of somebody quickly. I cannot walk next door to the other office. I have to say, hey, do you have a second on Slack versus just like real-time things. So I think it's about collaboration. I think it's about quick response time, and you get those from tools like Slack. And actually the funniest thing is back in the day, Atlassian had a tool called HipChat, I think.
Oh yes, HipChat,
Yes, you
that's
remember
right.
HipChat? Yeah, which is, and I can remember like Slack was this competitor to HipChat, and I think Atlassian, long after I was gone, I think they divested in HipChat, but it was this, like, that's where my first like real exposure to how to be able to tie things together, right? So you can tie, these are the documents we're working on that are actually embedded inside Confluence that we're actually using for the conversation that is could be both internally and externally focused. And so I think those are the things I'm seeing.
Async, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Async without, at first when people started saying async, I was like, what the hell are they talking about?
Me too.
Yeah.
Took me a while as well.
It was Tammy B. Allen from Workplaces. I was like, why does everyone keep saying async? I don't know what that is. And there's like, oh, they're talking about asynchronous. I was like, oh, asynchronous. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The other
Yeah.
thing though, that I'll tell both of you or just our listeners as well that I see as there's a little bit of a generational push and pull, meaning folks who are used to being in the office 5 days a week really like that.
Yes.
Folks who are younger generations, those folks who have spent 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, are typically older than they enjoy that connection. folks that are younger, oftentimes, and I can't remember if I said it in the beginning or not because I say it so often, 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, a lizard, a husband. Like, I have been married for 30 years, so I've seen like this flow. And my children, my older children are older. They're out of college already. So I've watched them actually go into the workplace, and they have a different desire, a different need of how they collaborate. They are used to remote work. It is what they know. Older folks who were forced into, I should say more seasoned professionals, who were kind of forced into work from home. Some of them actually...
CHRO.
Yes. Gee, but anyway, so I think that there's when I think about the generational divide when it comes to that, I think the magic is in the middle. Remote work is never going away, in my opinion, for a lot of jobs. Some jobs there is no remote work. But there's still this desire to cross-functionally collaborate. And so it's about how do we pull all these things together and how do we appeal to all workers? That's what's important at the company level, and the things that I'm seeing the most push and pull on remote work now today.
So now you've created your own company, Morales HR. Excuse me for mispronouncing that. What was the spark that kind of led you to where you are now with creating Morales HR? Was there a moment like, this is what I need to pursue?
Yeah, there were a few factors that led into that. One was when you are an in-house head of HR for one company, you can only affect people's lives positively at that one company. And my aspirations are much larger than that. And so that's one factor. The other factor was that I love being in charge of my own destiny and being able to influence how things are developed, how people are treated. Like, if I'm leading the business, I have influence over that. So those were the 2 biggest factors. And it started out small, and it's just gotten very large, where, anyone who joins the Morales HR community, which is literally just a community of professionals, there's no fee. It's just like, be part of the community so that we can potentially help you or your spouse or your family in the future. And now it's about what is that experience of getting employment? So the nature of employment is changing. This leads into the remote work, like how people get jobs, how people want to work. All of that is changing. We've moved so much to what is this gig economy thing? What is this fractional work thing? And so you see a lot of people are moving towards that. Some do it because they want flexibility. Some do it because they want to engage with companies before they commit. Some do it because they're like, I am a more seasoned professional. I don't really want to work 75 hours a week anymore. I would choose to work 30 hours a week. I can do that fractionally. So we're seeing a big movement there. And some people are saying, I only want remote work. Therefore, I will only go to companies that will allow me to be flexible and remote, and maybe that means 10 or 20 hours a week instead of 40. So I'm seeing a lot of that. So what drove me is the ability to impact people's lives and more flexibility.
Wow, that is so concise and wonderful to hear. I love it put that way. It's great.
She wants to save the world, Rick. She wants to save the world is basically what she said.
You are saving the world.
It's for the children, she said. It's for the children.
It's for my children. No, I'm just kidding. No, it is. I think it is it does make a difference. I wish I could save the world, but I can at least have a big impact on them.
You certainly can. Well, you mentioned the community. Can you explain a little bit more about how the community works? And are you interviewing people and then connecting them with companies, or is this just kind of like an open forum for people?
It's a little bit of both. So we launched I didn't actually launch Morales HR as an external company until August of last year. And we tried a few different models. We tried kind of like managed services where we would hire people underneath and then we place them out. And to me, I was like, this is also not scalable. It's not big enough. It doesn't have enough impact. And so where we leaned is, let's create a community where people everybody has the opportunity to speak to somebody live. They join, they talk to our intake person, our recruiting coordinator. As long as they're not a jackass, they can go forward, because I choose to only work with kind people. It's the biggest, be a kind human is my number one value. So as long as when they join the community, and sometimes they're looking and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just like, let me just be in that. But we know about them, what they want, what they need. And then when we find the roles, we push them out to our community. We don't post on LinkedIn. I don't put things on the website, so nothing can be scraped. It's all about that true value of that community and connection. So people join. We just created a Slack channel. So we have about 1,000 professionals. I'm totally going to come be part of your community too. I like the 3,000 number better. So we have about 1,000 professionals inside the community, all roles, all levels, all professions. So from CHROs, CFOs, heads of product, engineering, down to customer support, benefits operations people, like the gamut. They come, they join, and then they just get to see those opportunities as they come. There's about five or so come in and go out each week.
Kudos to you. The community's great.
That's great. That's really wonderful. Let's hit the rewind button real quick, if you would. You mentioned something a moment ago that is very, to me, it's sacrosanct. I feel like it's so important, especially these days. You mentioned the importance of being a kind human being. And I really would like to know, what does that mean to you? And as a value, why is it so important?
Straight to the heart. Straight to the heart, Shelly. Straight to the heart, as we'd say.
That's very New Yorkish of you. So, for me, I have, in my career, I have had the opportunity to work with amazing humans. I have also had the misfortune of working with very unkind humans. And
assholes.
Jackasses, assholes.
Thank you.
Pick your term.
Some bitches.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I just choose not to be around those people. I get no energy, I get no joy, and I have no time in life for anyone who's not a kind human. I have worked for CEOs who have said, I care about diversity, but only hire from Stanford and MIT. I'm like, dude, do you really? Come on, man. I do think that it's, treat people as you want to be treated is so true. I want people to treat me with kindness and grace and give me the benefit of the doubt because my intentions are always pure. Do I sometimes do things that don't come off? Yes, just tell me. And that's the kind of humans that I choose to be with. Wow. I will tell you that sometimes you guys, there's two things that happen with Morales HR. So we have my team is like, okay, we get it. We know, if you are not kind, I do not want you in this network. I will not refer people who can't have a decent conversation with the intake person. And senior people, sometimes they're like, I'm too good to talk to this junior person. I'm like, you're not good enough for us then. And by the way, not only are you not, you should be nice to everyone. Right? Yes, that at the core. But secondly, you actually are not very intelligent either because the person
trying to help you.
That and honestly, you guys, the person who does the intake, her name is Camille Morales. If you can't figure out that you should, not be unkind or be a jerk to Camille Morales, that's not, come on. Anyway,
same last name, get it. Same last name.
But more importantly, it is about how you treat somebody. It's I think everybody should be a server at one point in their life. Okay, a waitress, server.
I agree. How
I
bus tables.
Bus tables. I, by the way, have done all those things. And so I ran a happy hot dog. All right, we talked about that. So I just think it's about being a kind of human. So when you ask me, it is. At the core, I just know. And my gut is usually right. And now I've seen that my team's gut is usually right. And I also say, but make sure you're having, show them grace too. Yeah. Sometimes people just have a bad day. You never know. So this is one of my biggest learnings as an HR business partner in my career. And this is what I take forward all the time is you actually don't know what's happening in somebody's life.
Yeah, you got to dig a little. You got to dig.
And this actually is so, think about this from a remote work perspective. We went from, you could leave your house at 7:00 in the morning. You could completely separate yourself from what was happening at home. And then you came home at 7 or 8 and maybe the kids were crying all day, but you didn't know. Or maybe the dog was throwing up, but you didn't know until you actually got home. Now it is integration. It is all
Yeah.
mixed in. And so
Work-life
that phrase,
integration.
and yeah, and so I always say, even though we see people on Zoom, because Zoom actually cuts out a lot of the background noise now. So you might have like the kid crying in the other room, they don't hear it, but you hear it. So
Yeah,
that's the thing
yeah.
I always talk to people about. Even though it is, there's a better face of it now, it's something to watch for.
So earlier you were talking about why you kind of created it and you wanted to have more control. And I guess this is kind of more of a comment and I'll follow up with a question. I totally feel for a lot of HR professionals right now because, we're kind of caught in the middle, right? We're working with the executive team, but then we're also working with the employees. And with a lot of these return to office policies, and you even mentioned kind of like, oh, you care about diversity, but you only want to hire from there. Gosh, it's really, I feel for all of us trying to implement these return to office policies when, in fact, many of us probably don't even agree with them, So I just kind of wanted to state that's a challenge. But on the fractional, like this idea of fractional, you have a great set of clients that are listed on your LinkedIn that you're working with. Can you just kind of talk to our audience a little bit about what fractional is?
Yeah.
And then where do you see fractional heading? Because we're also in the same kind of space. So I'd love for you to talk about why fractional,
Yeah, there is a lot. I think that it is great to articulate what fractional means to me because it doesn't mean the same thing for everybody. To me, fractional is a non-in-house, non-full-time role. So that could be 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours a week for a company. To me, it does not mean it is not reserved for executives. Some people will say fractional is just for executives. So to me, fractional is just that, non-in-house, non-full-time engagement.
And when you say non-in-house, are you saying they are not hiring the person, they're contracting the person? Is that what you mean when you say non-in-house?
Correct. They're not an employee.
Okay.
That is where this, like, you would see this kind of like blurriness of part-time. Isn't it just part-time? It is not. There are part-time employees, of course. They work less than 40 hours a week and they are paid by the company as an employee. Fractional is that non-in-house engagement.
Okay.
Paid for by the company or sometimes a third party. Like sometimes there's a third party person that is bringing the fractional leaders in. I will tell you that I think it's 15 years ago. And by the way, why on earth would you tell everybody that I started my career in 1999? Like, are you trying to make me look old? Like, come on, man.
Hey, we're pretty close to the same age.
Jim and Christmas. Okay. Anyway, 15 years ago, I was at Juniper Networks. I ran employee relations, HR operations globally. I had, I don't know, maybe 15 people on my team, big team. We had, of course, Juniper was 10,000 people back then, right? And so we were having this offsite for HR leaders. So, and there was probably, actually, I think it was all leaders, about 100 people. And this woman who ran a big piece of learning and development for us, her name is Courtney Harrison. She said 3 things will be true in the future. You'll be able to smell from your phone. We will exchange goods via digital currency.
Oh, that's a check.
And the gig economy will be real. And I say to her now, she's a very dear friend of mine. I'm like, well, 2 out of 3, my friend, is not bad.
Hey, smelling from the phone is going to be amazing. I can't wait.
So I am seeing fractional in more than just HR. I think it is popular at the executive level in HR because the role itself has gotten so broad that people are like, I can't be a therapist and an operational genius and a talent acquisition person. Like I don't have that skill set. So I'll go be a fractional leader in what I love and what I'm really good at. And what if we had 2? What if we had somebody who was an operational genius and we had somebody who's like talent partner, who's a thought partner to the CEO, those types of things. So I'm seeing a lot of that. I see in the more senior roles, as people get older, they don't want to work 60, 70 hours a week. So there's a fraction
the flexibility.
The flexibility. They're not done, but they're not willing to do that for a host of reasons. I also am seeing it in people want to try engagements before and they feel like the fractional is a good way to test the waters. And then also, sadly, some people are doing fractional out of pure necessity. And that is because they couldn't get a job. I mean, they haven't been able to they got let it go and they haven't been able to land their next role. So they say, I'll just try a fractional opportunity. So there's some of that. And then the folks who have been really burned in layoffs are like, I could have 2 fractional roles, make the same or more, and not be so nervous about losing one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, one that we found by accident was filling the gap of maternity leaves, or
that's me.
like when someone goes on a maternity leave, sometimes companies are like, well, we have too much work, we still need to have this done, but we don't want to hire somebody, full time. I was like, wow, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that one I'm seeing as interim. So it is like, but they do blend. So SnapDocs is a phenomenal example of that. I was contracted to be a fractional interim coverage. So the person who was there before me, it's kind of a blend of what we just talked about. The person who was there before me, she was a full-time employee. She was going on maternity leave. They said, we need somebody, how about 30 hours a week? So I was a fractional interim. I've seen companies that are like, we're going to hire a full-time person to do this person's full job while they're out on maternity leave, or short-term disabilities are like very, very popular because for us in particular, because it happens, oh my gosh, so-and-so just got, cut their leg, they can't come to work, whatever the example is, and they need somebody right now with a skill set that matches this. And we have those resources already vetted because they join the community and we already know about them. Yeah, we have everything, honestly, from those engagements where they want the interim, they actually are going to do contract to full time, that they're hired in less than a week, because they're actually doing on the job interviewing by full time, by doing an interim or a fractional person first.
That's really cool. So, Shelly, do us a favor. If you would, share with us a comical or inspiring moment you might have had while working remotely.
I don't know. Kaleem looks too excited about this. I'm not sure I can. Okay, so
it's my favorite part of the show.
I know, right? Okay, so I told y'all that I have 4 kids, 2 dogs, a cat, a lizard, a husband. I live in San Jose. Been married 30 years, and I will tell you. I know, right? My husband, I have to say really fast, like, people always say, why is he last? I go, oh, he's made a big joke out of it. Like, he says I saved the best for last. But, when you have been married 30 years, that kind of does go back to that, whatever. Yeah. So the funniest thing was, like, when we there's probably not the funniest. There's so many. But if I think about, we had a 4th grader. So my kids are 29, 25, 23, 14. Okay. So think about the pandemic. We had a 4th grader. We had 6 of us in my house nonstop. Let me just tell you, it was cray-cray over here. Okay, and we would be literally fighting for internet space.
All right. Okay.
And I would be fighting for these kids to stay out of my office. Okay. So here they come, you guys. And it's like, they're trying to talk to me. I'm on a board meeting in my flip-flops, and I'm...
Okay. What's the board meeting for? How many people are on the call? Give me some more context of the situation.
Board meeting, they're VCs, they're bankers, they're for one of my companies that I worked for. I'm in my flip-flops and, of course, a cute shirt like I have on today. But I have shorts on and flip-flops. And they're like, these kids, like, they just keep coming in. They're bugging me. And I'm like, I'm trying to do that, like, the hand-up mom thing. And they're not biting. They're not understanding. And I'm like talking, like I'm talking to you right now.
Oh my gosh.
And I finally, like, there's a break and I can just put the thing on I can close the camera and I can just quickly, like, tell them to get out.
A quick curse out, basically. A quick curse out. You can curse them out.
Yeah, and like everyone else has done, I'm sure at least once, I didn't actually click the button, and therefore I'm on Zoom, running to the door, telling my children, I'm yelling at my children, and the dog is barking, and I come back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Like, I cannot even tell you guys. And, it goes back to what we talked about earlier, like the grace. And by the way, I'm not a fan of
shut up! I'm trying to do something.
I'm like, don't you not see me? Like, I am on a very important call.
I am your mother, and you will respect me.
I mean, it sounds to me like it was a human moment while being a parent.
It was a human moment while being a parent. The challenge that one at that time, you guys, is that was early days. That was like, the first board meeting 2 months into COVID. Like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. Anyway, they're like, it's all right. We didn't have people who didn't give enough grace yet, like at that one, but they're like, yeah, we get it. It's fine. So, I mean, those stories, they're plentiful.
It's funny, yeah. Those are, you mentioned it earlier, speaking of the early days, when you threw out Polycom, it threw me for a loop because I was a Polycom video conference technician at the University of Maine. And I only know the video conference aspect of it. I never did anything with the teleconference part. But we did have those giant, they were like hexagonal speakers that just laid flat on the table.
Oh, yeah.
They were so unnoticeable.
And
I was like, man, I totally forgot about that. So that's why it threw me for a loop.
I do want you all to know, let me just say one other thing really fast. So I do want you to know that I went from working at Atlassian, which was super cutting edge, super remote, like all these things, the to Cadence Design Systems, which is a 30-year-old semiconductor company. It was a little bit of an adjustment, but they have come, like, they're phenomenal. And, they have cornered the market on so many things. And Tina Jones, who's the head of HR there, is a phenomenal mentor and friend of mine, and so I feel very grateful to be part of that. But that was a little bit of a shift.
That's awesome.
I would imagine so. Yeah. So where can our listeners and viewers find you?
It's a super hard URL, moraleshr.com. And there, I was joking, obviously. So yeah, moraleshr.com. You can learn about what we're doing and how we're doing it, how we're thinking about that talent, bridging that talent gap differently. You can join the community there. There's a link straight to join our community.
And it's free?
It's free, 100% free. And then from there, you get the link to join Slack and do all those things. And then, you can find me on LinkedIn. I love to connect with folks. I do a lot in the Bay Area. I do a lot in events and different types of bringing folks together. And I would love to be connected to anyone who wants to be part of our community.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Shelly. I appreciate it. You've been an awesome guest. Can't wait for this episode to release. You've been so happy to talk to. Can't wait to see you again.
We certainly appreciate you tolerating us for the last hour. But I just wanted to say thank you for your kindness. It shows you are changing the world, whether you realize it or not. So thank you for your contribution.
Oh, you two are amazing. Have a beautiful day.
All right, you too.
See you next time. You've been listening to Remotely One. Visit us at remotely1.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.